we start, I just wanted to tell you that Gold Sabertooth is running his first ever Kickstarter. That's right, the Gold Sabertooth. If you aren't familiar with him, he is an incredible Magic-adjacent artist who likes to combine his love for Magic with a bunch of pop culture references. He throws it all into a blender. It really comes out in an awesome, unique style. In this Kickstarter, he is doing 9, now 10 different playmats that each focus around a common CEDH or EDH commander, such as Kinnan, Sisay, Najeela, Kraken Sakashima, Korvold, soon to be Tivit, I think, if they hit that stretch goal. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. There's even some t-shirts and stickers. Check it out in the podcast description. Thanks. Hello, and welcome to the Herald Torn. This is the big, long marathon episode. Dan and Emma and I chat about all of the things that were announced at MagicCon Las Vegas. We talk about my MagicCon Las Vegas experience a little bit. We talk about all of the new products. We talk about the rules changes. We talk about the new plans for Universes Beyond and their standard legality. It is a whole lot, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hello, my name is Cal Jones, and today I am joined by the wonderful Emma. Say hello, Emma.
Hello, Emma.
Emma, you haven't been on the podcast in some time now. It's been something like 3 weeks. Are you okay? Are you enduring?
Yes, I am enduring and persisting. And the clocks have changed in England, so everything's really dark really early now. So that's cool.
That's kind of brutal. But have you played Dragon Age Veilguard yet?
No, because it's out this Friday.
It's out this Friday. All right, so that's when we'll lose you.
This is the waiting room. This is the waiting room.
A very spooky waiting room, this October 31st episode. On this very scary day, I am also joined by Dan. What's up, Dan?
Boo! I'm a ghost. Sorry, I'm really spoiling the ghost impersonation contest that we're going to have at the end of the episode. But it is me, Dan, the future winner of the ghost impersonation.
The second half of the episode this week is just no
interview. 45 minutes of us going back and forth. All right, now watch me do it.
I'm spookier than you.
Yeah, well, give us your ghost impression.
No.
That's very scary.
All right, run the song. And welcome back. MagicCon Las Vegas is over. You know what that means. This is very well probably the most news-packed episode that we will have had this entire year, and it's probably the most news-packed episode we will have until next MagicCon Vegas. Wizards of the Coast loves to throw a big show at Vegas every year, and a really big part of that is both the World Championships and a lot of panels and discussions about the future of Magic, either the next year, even just the next year, or going forward past that. So before we get into all of the world-shattering Magic the Gathering news, I wanted to start off by talking about the two marquee events that were going on over the weekend at MagicCon. The first one being the World Championship. The winner was, of course, Javier Dominguez. Was it really going to be anyone else? No. This top 8 was full of a lot of incredible players for this World Championship. A lot of them playing some kind of Dimir pile. There was some mono red. A lot of really sick stuff. But Javier Dominguez took down the whole event playing Dimir Demons, even locking up the finals with a 3-0 finish, which is just about as easy as it gets. Javier also won Worlds in 2018, which got him the World Championship card for Vit Champion. I do believe this means that he will be the first ever player with 2 cards with his likeness on it. I believe every other player with a likeness only got 1 card.
There's one other player that has 2 World Championships, but I don't know whether or not name is Shenhar is on 2 different invitational cards. I'm unaware.
Yeah, because before the invitational was the way that you got your face on a card, and then they stopped doing that for a very long time, and then they brought it back with Worlds 2018, which Javier Dominguez won, got fervent champion, and so now he'll get another one. I believe he's the first one to do that.
I think that you're correct.
He's now one of the first two players to win 2 world championships, like Dan just alluded to. Shahar Shenhar did win 2 back-to-back, even in 2013 and 2014. And I think this locks in Javier Dominguez as easily the best Magic player of all time, who will not, and as of now cannot, be in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame, because they kind of just forgot about that. They stopped putting new people into it. They do reference it still on coverage and when talking about players and that kind of stuff from an official level, but it's not really something that Wizards makes use of anymore. I would love for them to bring it back. That's a whole other discussion. Before we continue talking about Worlds, did either of a chance of you really get to watch it much at all? I assume Dan didn't, but
I actually did this time because I knew we were going to talk about it. I know. Nice. I did not catch all of it, but I did catch that finals match was absolutely amazing. I mean, amazing if you're Javier Dominguez. It was like, I won't say soul crushing for his opponent, Marcio. I'm forgetting his last name, because he really did take it in such stride, and he knew that there wasn't a whole lot he could do about it. But it was an absolutely dominating performance from Javier's side. Just easy game 1 and started a steamroll in game 2. And it was, pretty easily locked up in game 3. It was just, really great performance.
Yeah. The one saddest thing about Marcio Carvalho, who was a finalist in Worlds last weekend, this is his 3rd finals that he's lost in Worlds.
That's brutal, but no conversions.
Brutal. Yeah, no conversions. Getting to the finals of Worlds is a massive feat, but just not being able to convert kind of sucks. I watched most of it. Time zones pending because it's on Vegas time, which is 8 hours difference for me. I will say I recommend watching the semi-finals with Seth Manfield and Javier Dominguez, because that is probably some of the best Magic I have seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I watched that one too at your recommendation on Twitter, because it was a great match.
It was a great match.
Emma, there's already a spoiler.
No, but I'm saying
why it's good. Yes, okay, gotcha.
Why it's good.
Yes.
You get a lot of good. Seth Manfield's another great player, probably another in that conversation, right?
Seth Manfield is probably about as close as it gets, maybe, to current era GOAT.
Yeah.
And they're competing in that match for Player of the Year award,
which Javier Dominguez won. And it was peak back and forth Magic,
it was really it was one of those games where there was a lot of twists and turns, a lot of screaming on the couch. It was just an amazing game to watch. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely worthy of going on to
just always so casual, turns up, it's
that was the thing. Yeah, it was such a great back and forth, because Seth really looks just totally in control in that first game and the first couple games, and Javier is really sweating it. Yeah, the between the two of them, the reaction shots were just absolutely amazing.
And I do really I really like it when we get meaningful matches in between players who have been around for a long time and have gotten to play for against each other a lot over time. It always has a lot of fun results, even if the games aren't as good. It's always fun to watch great players play against play great games against each other, and especially that match. Like Dan said, it's so cool specifically because. Not only is it, a match to advance in the world's top 8, it's a single elimination round in the top 8 of the most impactful tournament for Magic of the Year. But it was also literally whoever won took home the Kai Buddha Magic Player of the Year award. So it doesn't really get any better than that. Of course, Seth Manfield did, to get to that match, did have to go through the man himself, Kai Buddha, the all-time Magic the Gathering GOAT, especially now. I mean, John Finkel has stopped playing Magic the Gathering, and that was always a nice discussion that was had. And then Kai Buddha has come back and has top-8'd multiple big tournaments in the last several years, including this World Championship. I gotta admit, when I saw that Kai just barely slipped into the top 8 in the final round of the day, I was like, all right, gotta cheer for Kai now. But alas, it It was still a great match between Kai and Seth. That's another one that's really worth going back and watching.
Just watch the whole top 8. It's fantastic.
Yeah, watch the whole top 8.
Like,
All of the
it's
games
whole
are incredible.
stacked.
Yep.
Like, I don't like it's a great advertisement for Wizards because it was standard, which they're trying to push. Duskmourn seems really great for standard. Even like the limited gameplay part of the Worlds was also great because Duskmourn's a really fun limited format. You've got a stacked top 8 with people like Kai Buda and Javier Dominguez and Marcia Carvalho and all these people in the top 8. JED was undefeated day one, who was the previous world champion, and then Simon Nielsen also did really well on the Saturday. So it's just like lots going on, and I just like, if you've got time, just sit down and watch it. It was really good, and also like the views on Twitch were really good. They hit like 20k over the weekend, which is insane.
Simon Nielsen, of course, the reigning player of the year up until this last weekend. So it's just about as stone cold killer as a top 8 that you can ask for at this point in time.
Yeah, and as someone who has like repeatedly said that standard is not really my cup of tea, like it has been, as I've been asking for, like great players making standard look really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was really fun to watch. It was a Duskmourn. It was a Duskmourn event for sure. A lot of the best decks were chock full of very good Duskmourn cards.
That Demon Room, everyone cast that card a lot. Seems real good.
Yep. So the other really big event of the weekend was the live Rochester Vintage Cube Drafts put on by Ultra Pro.
Ultimate Guard.
Ultimate Guard. How can I not mess the two up? Let me tell you. They have had
future sponsor of the show, Ultimate Guard.
Please, I'm a Dragon Shield man.
I'm already sponsored by Dragon Shield, so I should be
plug Ultimate Guard on this platform. Okay.
Well, if they give me those f***ing Krabby Patty deck boxes, I'll say anything they want me to. Oof, they got me on the hook for that. You can take that out of the podcast, but oof, I'm buying one of those. I should email them first, I guess.
I'll keep it in. They
Ultimate Guard business email in my bio.
They put on a very cool live vintage cube draft, Rochester style, where there was a very long qualification process to get there. I don't remember exactly how it works, but
it was on Magic Online and it felt very tedious. But
they changed how it was going at some point. But basically, the basic structure of how you get into it is there are single elimination vintage cubes that happen. You have to go 4-0 in one of those first qualifier events. Then you get invited to a Saturday event where you have to go 3-0 in another 64-player queue. And then you get invited to a third tier where you once again have to go 3-0. And I think in a 64 of players who have won those 64s.
Yeah, so you have to go 16-0 or something to like get in this, or something ridiculous like that. Like you just can't drop a match.
I think it was like 10-0 matches and like 16-0 for games or something.
Absolutely insane. But what a reward. You got to go to Vegas and participate in a live vintage cube draft where the prizes is you keep your deck, which is when we're talking about vintage cube.
You take some power. Congrats.
Yes, exactly. When we're talking about vintage cube, that means power. Black Lotus, the Moxen, Ancestral Recall, Time Twister, other cards.
Notably, this isn't like the most current iteration of the vintage cube that you would see on Magic Online. This is sort of a vintage cube throughout time sort of flavor. So there were other really great value-wise cards that are not so great in the vintage cube, such as Moat and a few other cards like that are just like very big ticket items. And the way that the championship worked out is that whoever wins gets to take home the rest of the vintage cube that was not drafted, but there is, I think, between the top 4 players, each one of them gets one pick out of what is left. And then the youngest Jacobovitz brother took home the rest of it.
Took all the rest.
And also opened up Ancestral Recall, Time Walk, and Mox Jet as his 3 openers, which is pretty insane.
And his father, who was also in the draft, opened up the Black Lotus. So that family went home very happy, especially considering that Luca
family
took down the entire thing.
sitting pretty. Yeah,
Yep.
amazing games too. Again, if you didn't watch those, the draft process was a lot of fun to watch. It was a real nail biter of a Rochester draft process. It was timed, so the players had about 1 minute to take a look at the entire pack as it's opened, and then just one by one, I think you have like 5 seconds to make your pick out of the pile as it goes back and forth. So there were a lot of picks that you like. If you're a real big Vintage Cube drafter, you might be thinking like, whoa, that is a wild pick. Seeing like Thoughtseize go like pick 8th or 9th in a pack or something like that. But it does have to stand up against
the person in front of you was like, oh, well, Beta Wrath of God. That's what? $900? Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
it's not going to go in my deck, but I'll take the check.
Someone with like a Rakdos aggro deck took a pack 1 pick 1 moat, and I was like, yeah, it's hard to deny. I get it.
Yes, indeed. Now Emma will be grinding the Vintage Cube queues.
I don't have time for that. The Boomer Cube now is meant to be really good. Basically, it's Vintage Cube with essentially it's Vintage Cube from like 5 years ago or something like that. They've just put all the cards that they had to cut for like all the new Commander cards and new set cards. They basically just reverted it. So it's very Boomer and very reminiscent of when Vintage Cube like fired over the holidays. It's that sort of period of Cube, which is very nostalgic for me because I would always finish work, have my 2 weeks off, and it's like, let's go and play some Vintage Cube for
Oh yeah, like
just be degenerate
it's like
and play Cube.
its own second Christmas every year. It was so much fun.
Right.
And it really does. It hits on that nostalgia so hard because like the archetypes are so wonky and weird. Bribery is a great card again. Bribery is a game ender. Like Vintage Cube doesn't get better than that, in my opinion.
So that Cube draft was a great spectacle, both the draft and the games. I was there. I was there at MagicCon Vegas. It was a neat weekend. I had a lot of fun. Of course, being there means that I did not get a chance to watch much of these things. However, I was kind of tuning in when I could. I did get to watch a lot of the top 8 on Sunday. Kind of buckled down and watched a lot of the top 8 and also watched some after the fact as well. And then it was kind of crazy. There was over 15,000 people there over the weekend, I believe. Loads and loads of events, lots of vendors. They had space for everyone, which was not really a thing at some past MagicCons. And as an attendee of MagicCon Vegas, I figured I would give it the old props and slops, as it were. From my perspective as an attender. So let's go ahead and do the props. It seems they finally have the layout of the con figured out and done right. It was in a huge hall, a huge 2-level hall. So you went right past all the vendors. They had vendors all first thing. I'm sure the vendors loved that, given the fact that at some of these MagicCons, some vendors have been just like stuffed in the weirdest corners where I'm sure they got no traffic whatsoever. So every single person walking into the con walked right past all the vendors, right up front, easy to do all your shopping, as of course one does at a MagicCon. And then you pass by like the open free play area, which is open like much later than the normal hall is. And also the world stage, you keep going back, it's the command zone, keep going back, it's ticketed play. It just goes so far. And then there's an escalator, stairs, elevator to the second level. And up there they had, all the way at the back, they had the merch. So if you wanted to go get merch, which everyone does, you had to walk through the entire con. Genius, really. But upstairs they had like more free play area. They had 50 Magic the Gathering artists there. So for all of the artist sickos, you could have easily stood in line with artists pretty much all weekend long, getting your signatures on your cards, buying prints, all that kind of stuff. It was incredible.
In comparison to like the last con that I went to at Philly, where there was maybe 15-ish. Mm-hmm. That's a huge amount of people. That's crazy.
Yeah, like MagicCons usually have a lot of artists at them, but 50 is. I want to say like 20 more than I've ever seen at a big MagicCon. So that was incredible. It was awesome.
Yeah, 50 is huge.
And the slops for MagicCon Las Vegas. I didn't like how annoying it was to get to the con hall itself. It was on the very backside of the convention center in comparison to like most of where the hotels are. In comparison to the strip, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people had to like they got all these hotels that they thought were close to the convention center, and then they had to go off on a walk all the way around the side and around this massive convention center, which is what I had to do every day. If you were driving in, if you were Ubering in or whatever, it's not all that easy. But that itself was annoying. Speaking of, Vegas itself is wildly annoying to move around without spending money on Uber or Lyft. That's not about the event itself, but
sounds very American.
Yes, definitely.
To European here.
Yes, a lot of the other even like MagicCon events, the convention centers are kind of like in a relatively populated like city center type of vibe where like you can walk a couple blocks and get food if you really want to, or walk a couple blocks and find something to do, or they will have public transit of some form that you can take. And then if you really want to go to a specific food spot that's across the city, then yeah, maybe you'll grab an Uber for that or whatever, or take the public transit. Not Vegas. The convention center is, I don't know, a 40-minute walk from the Strip. So you can do that if you want. Too bad it's really hot outside.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the weather like in October? Because I know they're planning on doing one in July next year, right?
Yeah, that one's going to be insufferable. That one's going to be
that's
insufferable.
Like 100 plus degrees in July in Las Vegas.
I will probably die going to that one because I'm probably going to Vegas.
Classic. It was not bad. I think the high over the weekend was like maybe high 80s, which is very high for October, but not high for Vegas.
Yeah.
So, my one final little slop I had about the event overall, there was a community room where they did some signings, and that's where a lot of like the sign up to do a panel and we'll accept you where it was. And that was like really out of the way, out of the hall, down a hallway. And you didn't see community room signage until you were in that hallway. The only signage you saw until you got into that hallway was like Black Lotus VIP this way. And so there was some confusion there that some people had, including myself, like, oh, is that only Black Lotus stuff down there? Oh no, there's the community center. There's like their community room sign. So basically everything inside of the con hall, props. Everything outside of the con hall for the weekend, except for a little bit of fun gambling I got to do, slops. that's the event. That's the event right there. I didn't mention in my props, they have gotten like more and more useful and interesting events and panels every event. At the beginning of the MagicCons, it was like, oh, there's something over there, and now there's major announcements from Wizards. There's art focused panels. There's they did an Actually, the Dropout show. They did a Magic version of Actually. Of course, there's always Game Nights Live, which was more popular than ever and featured Mark Rosewater in a clown wig, clown nose, and clown outfit, coming out in a cardboard clown car and balloons, taking the win in his first ever Commander game, playing the Jolly Balloon Man.
Nice.
What a guy. Can't keep him down. I love him.
They also let him play like several silver border cards. So like he got to play the one that's like, oh, this creature gets +1/+1 for however many people you can high five in the next like 60 seconds. And so he was just like sprinting down the aisles, high fiving as many people as he could.
Yeah, that's good television.
And all that kind of stuff. So sorry, Dan, you were about to ask me something.
You were saying that you caught some of the World Championship and stuff. I saw Crim Asian Avenger tweeting that it was like difficult to watch the professional events and wish that there was more coverage. What was your experience with that? Were you able to were you watching it live with your own eyes, or were you watching it like via screen, or what?
I watched it like on my phone, but so what they have historically done is basically like if there isn't something going on the main stage, they'll put the coverage on the main stage, and they usually have the whole top 8 on the main stage as well. So like if you want to watch the stream, they usually have that on the main stage if there's not something else going on. Of course, a major problem with that is that from beginning of the day on Friday until middle of the day on Sunday or whatever, there is usually something going on the main stage.
Yeah, like it's booked pretty solid, obviously. They want to have events going on.
Yeah. But to Krim's point, it would have been really nice if they had, I don't know, a TV here and there that like just had the coverage on it or whatever while you're waiting in line for something and watch the coverage, or just be able to stop for 45 seconds and watch a third of someone's draft pack or whatever if you really wanted to.
That was my experience in Philly as well, because they did
Same.
I want to say must have been one of the Pro Tours happening on a completely different level than the rest of the con was
That was
going
Philly,
on. Which,
It was like upstairs, right at
Yeah.
the back, and it was like, this is really annoying. I really want to watch the Pro Tour, but it was so separated from everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get the Pro Tour players want to be left alone and for it to be quiet so they can concentrate playing, but how are you meant to hype up a Pro Tour if no one can see it?
Yeah, that was my thought process as well. And to what you said, Cal, just like, you're waiting in line at like the merch stand or like trying to get a drink or something. Like, it's a great opportunity for like a TV to just be on the wall that's happening.
Yes.
Well, for Christ's sake. Like,
Yep.
Like, I understand you don't want a situation of like, I don't know, a bunch of screaming fans on the sidelines while people are trying to play the most important Magic games of their life or something like that. But like it should be more accessible for the people who are in the building to be able to see the games.
Like,
not to sound like a dinosaur.
Area would be good.
Yeah, I think that would be a really great idea.
I said this in Chicago. I was like, it'd be great if there was just like a little corner somewhere in the main hall where you just have like some chairs and you can just coverage on 24/7, like whenever the convention's going on, and you can just sit down and watch. And you're like, cool, I can go and do something else now, or just have something to advertise that this event is happening within the MagicCon that isn't just game nights. Like, please.
Well, I think that's all we have to say about the World Championship, all we have to say about MagicCon Vegas. So why don't we move on to the meat and the potatoes of the show, now that we're nearly over a half hour in. All of the announcements that happened with MagicCon Vegas. You would expect us to have a lot to talk about during the product watch, and we will. But first, there's definitely stuff we can talk about during the news as well. A lot of really big stuff in a panel that they did on Saturday, kind of about the near future of Magic the Gathering. Some like practical stuff, some business stuff, and some other stuff as well. Kind of starting with in 2027, standard rotation, rather than being at like some kind of arbitrary deadline. I mean, it's arbitrary because I guess it just started being put there at some point in time. Standard will be at the beginning of the year, rather than with the fall set release. So basically whatever set is first in the year is now when standard will rotate, rather than it being the fall set. Makes sense?
It makes sense to me. Like, I mean, for you guys to understand this from people who are new to Magic, new to Standard, that Q2 Standard set, first Q2 Standard set, it's like, cool, this is when rotation happens. I could just remember this, rather than have like a couple of standard sets and then it's like this full set, which is the one that triggers rotation, and it's like, okay, so why is this the set triggering it? It makes sense just to have it at the start of the year. Like, I know some people have pushed back on it, but I'm like, I get this. I can see why they've done this. And to be honest, it's easier for me to remember, even though I've been playing Magic for 10 years. Like,
they also announced two raucous cheers in the building that manufacturers suggested retail pricing will be returning to several, but not all, products in the Magic the Gathering line. MSRP, it's something you see on a whole ton of products, and for whatever reason, I mean, I'm sure there's several business reasons. Several years ago, quite a while now, they removed it from all Magic products. Now it's going to be returning. Emma, you're the person in the card business world. What is the impact of this? Like, a lot of people are excited about it. Why would people be excited about this?
It's good because it means you're probably not going to have $100 Commander precons anymore.
And why is that?
Just because the manufacturer puts in the price. It's like, hey, you should sell it at this. It means stores can't, inflate that price for profit. It means more people, as in the consumer, is able to buy that at the recommended price, which means people will want it. And, you know, it's a good thing to come back. So it just puts more control into the consumer, which is very important when you're pushing standard and you're pushing all the products that we're going to talk about very soon next year, because next year's looking very busy. And yeah, it's just a win-win. I never understood why Wizards got rid of it, to be honest, in the first place. So it just feels like it felt inevitable, but it's also good. Like, I'm happy for it because it means consumers aren't going to get ripped off anymore.
Especially in an age where, like, so many of the Commander precons end up costing different amounts of money, and like obviously partially because of
that's
the
over
lack
$70.
of yeah,
always one.
But yeah, you look back on like the different Commander sets of the past couple of years. Some of them go for like $20 online. Some of them go for like $70, $100 online, and it'll be nice to see less of that price gouging, especially in terms of like the sealed products and everything like that.
Yep. And even if someone is choosing to list it at a higher price because it is a suggested retail price, it is then a lot easier for someone who maybe not know as much be able to look at the back of the box and go, oh, this is quote unquote supposed to be $40, not $70. Well, I don't want that. So we'll see. How about the real big one? Extended legality for Universes Beyond. Starting in 2025, Universes Beyond sets, all of them that come out, the full premiere sets, not secret layers, not smaller, more experimental stuff like Assassin's Creed. I don't think they'll be doing something like that again. Starting in 2025, they will be legal in all formats, which is to mean they will be standard, legal,
and Pioneer and Modern.
Yes, and Pioneer and Modern.
They're basically constructed legal, so they start off in standard and adhere to the same legality as a normal standard set would.
Much like Wizards of the Coast, Emma, I have decided to forget that Pioneer exists for the next year, so I didn't even think about Universes Beyond being Pioneer legal. My apologies.
It's fine. Everyone's forgotten about Pioneer now. It's cool.
It's gone. It's over. Put it in the trash
until the Spotlight series comes around, and there's a couple of those.
Yes, and then I'm
Pioneer,
sure there'll be some Pioneer
inevitable.
Spotlight series stuff. Yep.
I'm assuming that this is not retroactive, so that
it is not retroactive.
Lord
it is
of the Rings
only moving forward. Dan, are you
the
hearing
One
about
Ring
this
is
new
not
for the
in
first
standard.
time?
That's true. It's not that I'm hearing about it for the first time. It's that I wasn't paying attention to it when I heard it, and I did not care.
Fair enough. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot that could be said about this change. There's a lot of negative things that could be said about this change.
If I have to play a Spongebob riding a, I don't know, what's Gumby's horse's name?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
It's the best,
Shadow
most
facts.
timely reference, SpongeBob and Gumby's horse.
But there are a lot of negative things to this that I'm sure we can talk about at length. I think there is a small positive, which is that if we are going to be injecting a bunch of outside IP into the Magic the Gathering space, I would much rather those cards be closer to a standard level of like a standard level of power rather than a modern level of power. They talked about this a little bit. They said, hey, we have been trying to design modern level cards, like straight to modern cards, for 5 years now. We've done like 5 or 6 sets. It's obviously we still don't know exactly what we're doing. Do you know what we're really good at? Developing standard level sets. And I think in this in this decision that has brought many people low, I think that is like one small bright spot. That being said, everything else about this kind of sucks, actually.
Now you can see why MSRP came back.
Why's that?
Because of the Universes Beyond stuff. It feels kind of relevant to me. It's like this came and then the Universes Beyond stuff. So
Fair.
Yeah, I'm sure those decisions weren't made independently. That's a good point.
Yep. Well, any thoughts about this change, fellow gamers? Let's go to Dan first. I've asked Emma a lot of questions so far.
Once again, it's all a drop in the bucket. I don't know, man.
That's fair.
Like,
That's fair.
It's like,
Dan, fair enough.
I said this earlier on Twitter today, but like if you're of the mind that like SpongeBob or something makes Magic uncool, Magic has always been uncool. Like that's been its thing. That's why like girls think that Magic is weird because you play with like dragons and dumb fairies and like elves and stuff. Like
Sorry,
it's already
Emma,
not
you're not allowed to
cool.
like
Don't
Magic.
worry about. Don't worry about your game
Fuck
not
me, I
being
guess.
uncool. Well, Emma likes dragons and dumb things, so Emma gets a
True.
pass.
Yes.
We were just talking about Dragon Age. We clearly talked about how we love dumb things. But no, it's like, I don't know. It's fine. I don't know. Magic is always weird and changing, and nothing can stop that. So I hope the cards are interesting.
It's very interesting, and I don't know if it's a good interesting or a bad interesting yet. Still processing it. There's a lot to take in. I will say it felt inevitable. I'm not surprised by this announcement.
And inevitable is the word to use, I think.
I think it was only a matter of time when Wizards were just going to flip the switch and go, yep, let's go. Whether that was a Wizards decision or a Hasbro decision, we don't know. Hasbro could have just gently nudged Wizards to do this because Wizards is the only profitable part of Hasbro right now outside of Monopoly Go, which the Q3 earnings was last week, and Wizards is still making profit, so that's good. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm more concerned to the fact that there's 6 standard sets next year rather than Universes Beyond coming into standard. The fact that we've got 3 Universes Beyond sets next year, and one of those meant Lorwyn had to be pushed back to 2026.
Yeah, Lorwyn was bumped into Q1 2026. Yeah, it makes it feel worse.
It's just like salt in the wound. It's like SpongeBob.
Well, that's not a set. It's just a secret lair.
It could be. Like, we don't
Honestly,
know what it is.
I'd be for it. I'm into SpongeBob. SpongeBob
I think
fan.
there's a lot of unrest because for a lot of people, Magic is escapism from everything that's around us, right? And especially we're in a period where everything is over branded and over marketed, and there's a lot of crossover with that. And for a lot of people, Magic felt like the most genuine IP that was like, cool, they make their own worlds, there's dragons and dumb things like we were talking about earlier, but it's like, oh, now those dragons are going to be Sephiroth and, it's going to be Spider-Man instead. People just don't want that. It infringes on their escapism, so they just feel kind of deflated by it because they're just not invested in these IPs to begin with. They're invested in the Magic IP. So I can understand why it's alienating and pushing some people away because they just don't care about the aesthetic. They just want to play with the cool, fun Magic cards, not the cool, fun Spider-Man cards or the cool, fun Final Fantasy cards. So I understand where they're coming from. But it's just like kind of inevitable when you think about it. Like LTR is like one of the best selling sets of all time,
Spider-Man is almost certainly going to go right up there.
Right, this is it. And I don't expect this to be permanent, long term, like permanent, as in Wizards are going to do this all the time. Figuring out what IPs to use for standard sets, that list is pretty short in my eyes. Like, they're going to run out of really good IPs real quick, and you're already hitting off with Marvel, Lord of the Rings, and, Final Fantasy, which are the big ones, let's be honest. And Marvel's also a multi-year deal, so you can expect multi-sets for that. But after then, it's like, who do you go to for, like, really engaging standard sets that can make tons of money? Like,
exactly, yeah. Who else is on that level? You've got Star Wars, which is Disney, and it's going to be very difficult to get that IP, I would imagine.
Yeah, like, you got Marvel, which is, like, adjacent to Disney, but you're not going to get the actual Disney characters because Lorcana exists. And Star Wars has its own card game. Like, it's going to be tricky. Like, as much as it feels really crappy right now, what's happening, I can't see Wizards doing this for more than 5 years.
Yeah, it doesn't seem extremely sustainable over the long term in terms of, like, 3 to 5 years. It feels very similar. What Hasbro does to Monopoly is Wizards is what doing to Magic. They're treating Magic, Hasbro treats Monopoly like, cool, let's make cool different versions of all of these different IPs and all this stuff. Like, you can get God knows different flavors of Monopoly now. Magic feels very similar, which is why I think it's probably a Hasbro thing more than a Wizards thing. Wizards are just trying to do the best they can here because they're the only ones that making profit out of the whole company, which is wild to think about. So, but I also understand the frustration. People, standards in a really good place right now. So you're gonna have Spider-Man fighting Valgavoth, which just sounds ridiculous in itself. Like, come on. Yeah, I completely get it from that angle, because I, as a person who came into this game, like, pretty much solely based on how cool I thought the art was in, like, middle school Magic era, is certainly a game that I do not recognize in many facets now, but the gameplay's still fun, so I will.
It is the
I will
best
put those
trading
feelings
card
aside.
game ever designed, in my opinion. I just wish, not necessarily Wizards, but Hasbro could just see how good they have it with the whole Magic stuff, and they could just trust Wizards to do the Magic thing instead of just trying to funnel all these IPs into a machine and going, yes, let's make the number go up. It's like,
yeah, I think I've mostly always been in the boat of, like, I'm in this for how fun the gameplay is, but I always did find it to be a great facet of the game when, like, the new set that is cool and has a bunch of cool cards. Also, the story is cool and there's something interesting going on with the characters, and there's more to, like, divulge and learn about that through flavor text and through the art on the cards and things like that. And like you said, now we're just being introduced to, like, cool cards, but, like, it's with IP that just, you either, like, emotionally have no investment in because you don't care about whatever franchise, or just because pieces. It's just random IP
as
slop
much as
now.
People talk about the monetary value of Magic, you know, Magic is more than just a commodity to people. Like, we need to stop treating Magic as like a commodity in that way. Like, people build relationships and attachment to the worlds and these cards. So I can understand the frustration that those are getting severed due to Spider-Man and Final Fantasy and whatever else is coming.
The entire basis of the Ristic Studies channel and others as well. It's just like, oh yes, there's a beautiful thing here underneath all of the game pieces, and Universes Beyond does trample it a little bit.
Yeah, like Ristic Studies did a really good Medium article. Like, Sam started writing, he wrote a really good piece about, you know, what's happening in Universes Beyond. Well, I think the biggest thing that Sam also acknowledged is that they called, like, during the panel, they called the Magic thing an IP.
Yeah, the Magic IP is what Foundations is based on. Yeah.
It's just like the fact that we're retroactively calling Magic an IP over the Universes Beyond stuff does sound kind of crappy. I'm sorry. Like, it just bothers me.
I saw someone make the Magic original coming soon joke on Twitter, and seems
excited
apt.
for Universes Beyond Magic the Gathering.
I wanted to shout out to Mark Rosewater Blogatog answers that were back to back on October 27th that I thought were relevant to the discussion, both about Universes Beyond, etc., etc. This is the end of a very long one. After a very long question. But he said, Universes Beyond's greatest contribution to the long-term health of Magic is as a conduit to introduce new players. Learn the game system with a property you love, and then, once you see what a great game Magic is, become a lifelong Magic player. To accomplish this, we need to have a softer landing spot, softer in quotes, and we believe that is standard. True. Note this is in addition to a lot of other work we are doing to return standard to prominence. I know it's very easy to want to attribute malice to a company's decisions, but we really are trying to do what we feel is best for the long-term health of the game. Interesting. Okay, sure, whatever. I get it. However, which is like a little bit of a look into why they may have done this, I guess, in addition to what I mentioned earlier, which is earlier in his answer about, hey, we're way more experienced at designing standard cards than we are modern cards. Here's a question and Mark's response, which I found personally quite encouraging, regarding we have 3 Universes Beyond sets this year, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Mark, overall, I am a fan of Universes Beyond. However, with the recent announcement, I think that having 3 full Universes Beyond tentpole sets a year might be a bit much, simply because I am concerned that the well of potential Universes Beyond partners with enough material for a fully fleshed out set with support for all 5 colors is not deep enough for it to be sustainable. To Emma's earlier point. Mark's answer, the cadence is not forever, it's for now. So, you know, there's a very real future where, you know, in 2026, maybe we see 2 Universes Beyond sets. Maybe we see 1 Universe Beyond set like we did last year, with Lord of the Rings. So, I don't know. It's a weird time. These weird in-between times are always so strange because Wizards loves to make these big announcements. And then they kind of change the game forever and we just have to deal with it.
I mean, it's been a busy few months in Magic if you want to add the Commander stuff as well. So a lot has just changed in like the culture of Magic in the last like 2 months. And we're still settling in post-Commander bans as well. Like, all that stuff's still happening. And then it's like, cool, here's all the Universes Beyond stuff that you're going to have to consume next year. And it's like, ugh. It's like, you need to let people just, like, settle and just, like, take stuff in. It has been a lot.
I think theoretically, like, maybe their thought process and, like... Well, I guess they didn't know about the Commander banning, so that's a bit of a surprise. They don't necessarily know when or if that's going to come to fruition. It's the exact formation. But I think there's like some world in which they, as a company, can think, hey, maybe this doesn't affect everyone so much in the same way as like the different sects between like standard players and Commander players and things like that. But there just are so many Commander players now, and Commander players are honestly going to be the ones largely consuming the standard product, even though it is meant for standard competitive play. Like, there's just no way to get around, like you said, just affecting so many people so heavily with all of these announcements back to back.
Definitely. Well, now we wait. Let's see what happens. 6 standard sets in a year, 3 of them non-Magic IP. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, they're also changing the blocking rules. I don't really understand what they're doing there, but it seems easier.
Essentially, they're changing.
Oh, thank God Emma's here. I knew Emma would understand.
So essentially, what they're doing, they're reverting it back to what blocking used to be. It's basically they just reverted. They just made it better to attack. Essentially, it favors attacking more than normal. That's about it.
So now I'm stupid, and correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed like the way we did it 2 weeks ago is I'm assigning damage before, or I'm assigning where damage is going to go to blocking creatures before we go to damage. But now it's happening like just slightly later on in the attack phase or whatever.
It's slightly streamlined. Essentially, it's just slightly better for people attacking. It's
like
the
blockers just don't have. Do blockers lose like a set of priority during the combat phase? I guess that's what I'm.
I think so.
Okay.
What I've been told is it's very similar to what it used to be, which was the good way, and now they're just kind of simplifying it because obviously foundations and new people are going to come into Magic, so making that easier makes sense. Like the decision and the feedback on it seems pretty like well received because it's like, cool, this is how it used to be, and it made a ton of sense. So why did we change it? That was
my thought process. People who are smarter than me were like, this is a good thing, and I was like, okay, I trust you, but I need to see it in action before I understand what's happening. I think time to boot up MTG Arena.
It'll work much easier on Arena.
Foundations?
It is at the Foundations release is when the rules change will take place.
Right, November 15th, I think I saw online today.
Well, we've already talked about a lot of new Magic cards, so why don't we move on to the part of the show where we formally talk about new Magic the Gathering cards. It's time for the Product Watch.
Product Watch!
The Product Watch is presented by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. After all, you need to clear out space for all the new products we're about to discuss. Brought to you by the beloved team behind Card Hoarder, Card Conduit does the hard work of getting you the best buy list prices available for your cards. All you have to do is send them one package, taking advantage of your selection of their 3 services. I use the sorted service, which has you collate and enter cards ahead of time in return for the lowest fees. Don't worry, you can just send them a huge box of random unsorted cards too, and they'll figure it out. I've used Card Conduit myself 5 different times to thin my collection, and have had exclusively great experiences. Use code HORN at checkout, or use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your fees and help support the show. All right, it's time to talk about Magic the Gathering cards. Who is ready? Let's go. The kicker is, of course, that I am quite excited for the main topic of conversation today, and that is Foundations, the upcoming very large, I believe larger than a normal set, upcoming standard legal set that will remain standard legal for 5 years. It's a very interesting experiment that they're doing in that they are setting a quite literal foundation for standard and also for, people who want to get into the game, all that kind of stuff. Go to Foundations, cool. And then you're set for Standard, cool. This is going to be the underpinning of the Standard format for the foreseeable future, kind of helping tie together all of those universes beyond cards and whatever other stuff we're going to have coming down the pipeline. And so far, the set looks like the perfect set for the job. It's full of classic reprints, and all of the new cards they have been showing off. As weird as it feels to say, they just like feel like what I think of when I think of like a more classic Magic card from 5-10 years ago. They're still quite strong, but there's a lot of really awesome stuff in there, including new and returning designs for classic characters like Muldrotha, Niv Mizzet, Tiny Bones. It's so sick. They've been showing off more and more of the set every day, and every card I see, I'm like, yeah, that rocks. Even from the very beginning when they showed off, yeah, here's Llanowar Elves, here's Wrath of God. Is there maybe some concerns I have about Llanowar Elves and Wrath of God being standard legal for 5 years? Maybe. But will it be sick for those classic, really strong Magic the Gathering cards to be standard legal for 5 years? Also, yes. Have the two of you gotten much of a chance to check out Foundation stuff?
Yeah, I just saw Sarah Angel and Savannah Lions both confirmed reprints as we've been talking here, so I'm very excited for that. I do think Llanowar Elves in particular is like that's a decision you have to think about every time you make a green 3-drop from here until 2029. So good luck with that, but okay. I'm glad that's not my job. Looks cool, looks fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I said to a friend, like, before we started recording, that I'm already picking up a beginner box and a starter collection. Like, just like the amount of cool stuff in these products is just something I'm interested in. I'm going to treat the beginner box very much like a Magic board game. Just use it to teach people. I think that's a good way of doing it. But no, like the previews seem really sick. So for context, Foundations is a 50-50 split between reprints and new cards. And a lot of the reprints they showed off today, especially, are pretty sweet. Like Boris Charm's going to be in Standard, as is Dried Militant, which are these like classically, previously quite good Standard cards. Like they made their presence known back when they were legal for the first time. So I'm really excited to dig into Standard because it feels like you can just build like a really good Standard deck just from Foundations product only, which is great. That's a really good way to sell the set. It's also a great way to get people into Standard and get to go to their FNMs and everything like that. I
saw the Temple cycle, Temple of Triumph, Temple of Mystery, the ETB Scrylands. Yes, do they need another reprint at Rare? No, but are they a really solid land, I think, to have kind of at the foundation of Standard? Yeah, I don't think there's too many people who would be too upset about getting to put a Temple in their deck. Okay, Dan would be very upset with putting a Temple in their deck.
Yeah, no, boo, just put Shocklands in Standard, you cowards.
A reprint that I really love to see, Think Twice. 2-drop instant, draw a card, flashback for
Mystical
2 and a
Teachings.
blue. Yeah.
Mystical Teachings is in there? That's hot.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
You're in. See, you're in.
I think it's going to be really fun. I think it'll be very interesting to see the push and pull between this being the Standard Foundations literally for 5 years, and also like, can we sustain that alongside the 6 Standard releases in a year? And like, what is Standard going to look like? And like, I guess my question is how stable will the foundations of Standard be when we have that many changes in such a short period of time? Will you really be able to like get a foundation underneath you with these cards when there are so many new archetypes and decks that are going to be popping up all the time with these new card interactions? I'm not sure.
I don't remember the exact math, but I did see a Twitter thread. We just recently had the largest Standard card pool of all time with over 3,500 cards, and we will healthily surpass that theoretically in between Foundations being a quite large set, in between us getting 6 Standard sets in the next year. There's going to be something huge there. I think that's a good point, Dan.
It's going to make for presumably a really interestingly diverse Standard meta.
Like I saw Maze's End is going to be Standard, so you can do all the whole Gates stuff. All the guild gates have been printed, so someone's going to rock up with like the Gates deck from way back when.
You will just play. You can just play Gates in Standard for 5 years if you want to.
Like,
just
that's
show
the
up
thing
at
I'm
FNM.
really
Let's
excited
go,
about.
baby.
That's what Modern used to feel like to me, where you could show up with just like your shitty Goblins deck on a Saturday night and try to like go up
just
against Jeskai control or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's what the vibe is going to be like, is that this really opens the door for there to be like many tiers of the standard meta and what you can be doing at your standard F.
And to the point of like accessibility in standard and stuff, it will be very nice that there is just like a set of cards that you theoretically, like if you're an already invested player or a new player for that matter, who may play standard for a while, it will be great to like crack open my foundations packs or buy my singles. And cool, this new card, 4 of, looks pretty good. Cool, I'll have that 4 of. And if I need to use that 4 of for the next 5 years, I will be able to. 5 years is a very long time. We keep saying that number. Magic has been a major part of my life for a very long time. I've been playing for a little over a decade at this point, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure this number has changed, but in the past, I know that like the average life cycle of a Magic player tended to be like 2 to 3 years. So, I mean, if standard is lasting longer than that, that's pretty sweet.
5 years is a big number. 5 years is a big number. I'll be well into my 30s by the time that this...
I will be 41.
I will still be 16 and a half canonically.
Wait, what are you doing? You're a minor. Get off this podcast.
I'm sorry, I didn't know the 18 and plus only co-host rule for the Herald's Horn podcast.
Yeah,
I missed that part of the
foul
application.
language from yourself.
Please don't tell my principal.
Going back...
Yes,
Going back
Emma.
to the point about it being 5 years, something we don't really talk about when it comes to buying cards is the mileage of cards. So if you spend X amount on a card, how much are you going to use that over the year? And with something like Foundations, that becomes really lucrative. So you can buy like a beginner box for like $35, $40. That's good for 5 years. And if you like... you can just forget about it and come back to it in 18 months and it will still be legal, which is huge when you think about it. It's like you're not losing money, which is something I think a lot of Magic players struggle with. It's like, cool, if I buy this and if it gets banned or if rotation happens, it makes us very aware, like in terms of like buying stuff, it like makes buying trends a lot difficult. So having something like Foundations is like, yeah, it's good for 5 years. You don't need to worry about that. I think that's going to encourage more people to actually buy the set and buy the singles because they know it's good for so long.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if this could be the beginning of like our Pokemon era where you're able to get like a really good tier standard deck for not very much money in like a pre-constructed fashion from
I am looking
like
forward to the story on like Magic.gg, which is like the competitive side of things. I'm on the Pro Tour and all I did was, open a beginner box and made a deck or something like that, use cards from the beginner box and I'm on the Pro Tour. Something that's like a really cool story because it's just like, given how cheap it is, it's going to happen at some point, I feel.
Mm-hmm. I did want to really quickly shout out an upcoming product from Foundations. Emma, you mentioned it in passing, the Foundations Starter Collection, which is going to be a product that seems much akin to the Deck Builder's Toolkit of old, but like if they made it good. It's gonna come with 350 plus curated cards, all of which are standard, legal, and basics, and also I believe 3 boosters as well. So you can get that addiction going on good. I was looking at the list of cards in here, and that like they're not pricey cards or anything, but like Emma said earlier, Maze's End is in Foundations. Maze's End, a copy of Maze's End is in the Foundation Starter Collection, along with a copy of all 10 Gates. That's just lets you go, oh, that's cool. Felden's Cane is in there. We've got Arcanus the Omnipotent in there. Aurelia the Ward Leader is in there. Darksteel Colossus is in there. There's just like so many cards that a newer Magic player can just like look at and go, oh yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do with this. I know what this is. I saw Karma Klumperens, who is basically a rock star who's driven much of the push around Foundations and its design. Ristic Studies, Sam asked her, you're very intentional with your choices in your card evaluations. Are there any cards that you've planted for beginners with hopes of leading to big aha moments? And Carmen responded, Harmless Offering, probably the biggest one here.
Nice.
Why
That's
would I ever
really
want to? Oh, Harmless Offering, of course, being a red 3 colorless sorcery, give an opponent a permanent that you control.
And Demonic Pact is in the set as well.
Demonic Pact is in the set? What?
Demonic Pact is in the set. Carmen deliberately put it in there. It's like, they're like, yeah, I want new upcoming Magic players to have like, oh my god, I can win this game by doing this really silly thing. Because
Offering Pact is back, baby. Let's go.
Offering Pact is in standard. And Carmen was like, yeah, I want people to have the same excitement that I had when I first started playing. It's like, cool. Oh wait, this works how I think it does. I'm going to win the game. Like, because that excitement creates memories, and if you have those memories, you're going to stick around in Magic more. So it makes absolute sense.
Yeah, I think that is like the much better way to approach this, because like if you're comparing this to like the average commander product, where like you look at a commander and it's like, oh, this commander is made to make Tarmogoyf tokens, and that's all it does, and it's the best thing that could ever do that, and there's no real like problem to solve. I love the idea of introducing new players to that idea again of just like, there is a puzzle to be put together here, and you can really put together it any way you want, but there are some specific pieces that will really unlock something special.
Yep. All that to say, Foundation's looking great. I'm excited for it. In what could have been, I think, like described as a dark couple days of announcements for a lot of people. That's morbid. It wasn't really that, but some frustrating string of announcements.
Concerning, I think is the word.
Yeah. Foundations has already proven to be a real breath of fresh air for me. So let's wow, we're going so long and we have so far to go. How about the sets of the future? They ran through, talked about some upcoming sets. The next several sets, starting with Aether Drift, a 10 two-color racing team based sets. Rather, there are 10 two-color racing teams in the set, all racing for the grand prize, the Aether Spark, whatever that is. Obviously, it's a very... what is it, Emma?
So the story of Aether Drift is really cute. Essentially, Chandra is the main character of Aether Drift, and she takes part in the death race to win the Aether Spark, which is this item that gives somebody a Planeswalker Spark. It's like a living Planeswalker Spark in a thing. And she's getting in the race because she wants to win it for Nissa, because Nissa lost her Spark, who's her partner. So she's doing it to get Nissa to be a Planeswalker again. And I think that's really cute and wholesome.
That's fun. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right. There's going to be 10 two-color factions, one of which is led by Chandra. But there's like insects, there's goblins, all that kind of stuff. Very vehicle heavy. The thing that I'm most excited for, there is a big old cycle of two-color Gear Hulks. For people who are newer to Magic, the Gear Hulk cycle from the set Kaladesh, I think very well may have made a generation of people fall in love with Magic.
It made me hate getting blue Gear Hulked into whatever god-awful counter spells.
Torrential Gear Hulk flashing back Glimmer of Genius will continue until morale improves.
That was the bane of my existence as a player who could not afford to buy a good standard deck.
Oh, I'd like to do this. Oh, yeah.
How about a 6-mana creature that crushes you?
Yeah, I'm going to flash back this... I forget whatever the premium counterspell would have been in that deck. I don't remember.
I can't remember either. I think there was some 4-mana counterspell that really pissed me off, though. It was my Cryptic Command.
Disallow?
Oh, it definitely would have been
Disallow was in there for sure.
That was Kaladesh, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, two-color Gear Hulks. Gear Hulks are coming back. Dan, would you care to read this Bright Glass Gear Hulk for us, the one they showed off?
I would, because I'm actually seeing it right now for the very first time, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool. Bright Glass Gear Hulk is double green, double white for a 4/4 artifact creature construct with first strike and trample. Says when this creature enters, you may search your library for up to 2 artifact, creature, and or enchantment cards with mana value 1 or less. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle.
Hello? And it's a 4/4.
Yeah,
this card is so sick.
That's really sweet.
If you can cast it, I don't know how you lose the game after you've cast this card.
Yeah, this is strong stats. I mean, costly mana.
Yes, that's the hard
pips.
part. Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, it's a very strong card, and that ability is very cool.
So I'm excited to see what they do with all the other two-color Gear Hulks. I
hope they put Mana Crypt in standard. That'd be really sweet. It'd be be an awesome thing to grab with the Gearhulk.
I hope they put Mystic Remora in standard so I can grab it with
I'm
my
excited for people to get Soaring in Commander.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just does it all.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about Aether Drift? It seems fun. The art they showed off is really cool. I'm sure it'll be scrolling on screen right now.
I hope that it's closer to like Fast and Furious than Death Race, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
I'm excited. I just hope there's a mechanic called Family.
Me too.
Yeah. A family of
I
people.
hope that they do a
Aether
Fast and
Drift,
Furious
Tokyo
secret
Drift?
layer, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I would love to get a Vin Diesel
Imagine
card.
Vin Diesel.
If they don't do a Vin Diesel card, I'll riot.
Next up, another set for those of us who started playing Magic in a very specific time. It is Tarkir Dragon's Storm, our first return to the modern world of Tarkir since Fate Reforged. We've seen glimpses here and there in core sets or whatnot. I believe it was Core 21 that was technically set in the far past of Tarkir and gave us the backstory for all of the Elder Dragons. Getting retroed onto growing up and living on Tarkir and coming from there. But this is going to be a look into the current world of Tarkir. They showed off Sarkin. They showed off Ugin. So I guess Ugin is alive in some form or fashion, as much as alive as a undead dragon that is just made up out of his own soul can or be, I guess. So excited for this set. They showed off a blank Sarkin card. They showed off a blank Ugin card to big applause. So this Tarkir is like the first Magic setting that I really felt in love with. Like I started during Return Ravnica. Obviously Ravnica's cool, blah, 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 blah. Went to Tarkir and I was like, oh man, yeah, this is it. This is the stuff for me. So they said it's going to feature a lot of clans, a lot of clan stuff, a lot of dragon stuff. So really, what else could you want? I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Siege Rhino 2025 design. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
It only costs 2 mana now.
They chop
It's basically
colors.
Euro.
Black, and then a green
Hybrid.
and white hybrid mana is what Siege Rhino would now cost, obviously. It's still exact same card. They just chopped a pip and a colorless mana off.
Go back to the original design and make it a 5/6 or whatever. I'm very excited for this. As a person who did
Same.
not draft this set when it was, or the original Tarkir when it was in standard, and only came back to it through the Arena re-release last year, it was one of my favorites limited sets of all time. So very much hoping for the same with the return to clans. I would expect like that was, I think, one of the best parts of original Tarkir Limited was how much fun it was to put together your.
It was so well done as a 3-color set. Tarkir was my first ever set, like full-blown set, so I'm very nostalgic and sentimental. Hello, cat. For Tarkir, if you can see right here, there's a Khans of Tarkir sealed booster box that I still need to open, like I've had for a very long time. And it's very sentimental to me because it was, 10 years ago now when Khans came out. So it's great that we're finally coming full circle. And it's like 10 years later, we're back to Tarkir. And there's still dragons.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. Speaking of something that I know Emma is sentimental for, how about this next set? We will have Final Fantasy X Magic the Gathering in June of 2025. We've known this set is coming for a long time. What we didn't know is that this set was going to be standard legal. And they announced that it is going to feature characters, settings, events, etc. from Final Fantasy 1 all the way through Final Fantasy 16. So obviously there is a ton of material to work with. I know Gavin, who is a Final Fantasy super fan, was leading up the set. I'm sure it'll be a good time. They showed off some really sick Sephiroth art, which got a nice AI witch hunt going online because people are stupid. But hey, this trusted artist who's been doing artists for forever, they posted a really lossy version of this image onto Twitter. Hey, I noticed that this has 2 more belt buckles on it than my idealized Sephiroth does. This could be AI. Thoughts?
I thought someone would be like,
Twitter,
there's a wing on the back that doesn't go to anything. It's like, it's behind another thing, you dummy. Like,
yeah.
Something
Weren't they
goes in front of
basing it
something
Hair
off
else.
coming down from
the-
here. Oh, that's
Weren't they basing
light.
the Sephiroth off the Final Fantasy VII remake, and it just was not correct? And it's like there's different versions of Sephiroth throughout all the games and all different media. How about you shut the fuck up and enjoy this cool piece of media?
Sephiroth
come
looks
on.
cool as hell. Let's
It's
go
an
next.
iconic moment as well. Very iconic moment.
Yes. Yeah.
As is the Kafka one that
Yes.
was previewed by Final Fantasy. Also a very iconic moment in Final Fantasy VI. But it's like, just appreciate art. Just stop being pleased.
What
It's
if
not
I
cool.
can be the one who broke the news on Twitter, though, Emma? You don't understand the kind of clout I could receive.
I'm so
I need
happy
an
for you
adult.
if that's the case.
Think about how many clicks I can generate and shove to my YouTube
Think
channel.
about how
That's
much
all
attention I
clickbait.
get online because I don't get it from my parents or my family. Just think about
It would
it.
carry me into the rest of my life, I think.
Would you ascend?
Hopefully, for finally reach Nirvana.
Speaking
Kurt how
of
cool he
reaching
is.
Nirvana, no, I'm not going to jump to the next
Hey.
set. Final Fantasy, it seems sick. I am a
I am gonna be
passive Final
insufferable.
Fantasy fan. Yeah. How many
I
Final
don't know
Fantasy
anything
games
about
have you
it, but
played, Emma?
I'm happy for you.
So I played all of them up till 13. 14 was an online one, so I didn't touch that one.
Still extremely popular.
Yeah.
Available with a free trial that gets you all the way to... I forget what the meme was.
I haven't played 15 or 16, but I did buy them recently because 16 just came out on Steam. So after Dragon Age, I'm just going to jump into those. Apparently 15 is meant to be quite good, but it's just like 4 dudes in a car just road tripping with belt buckles, apparently. So we'll see.
I've played a bit of it. It's pretty fun. I need to dig more into it myself.
But I'm someone that prefers the really old Final Fantasies, like when they was like pixelated and turn-based and stuff like that. So
that is where most of my history with Final Fantasy lies as well. I've played like 1 through 5 and 7 and some of 15. It's like, okay. But excited for this one. It should be... this one feels to me like another set that has the potential to actually sneakily become the best-selling set of all time, given how wide the fan base is for it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Final Fantasy, but the one thing I do know about it is that the art is like really cool. So I'm excited to see like what kind of art, what kind of characters and everything. Like as a person who doesn't know anything about it, I think there's a lot of really cool potential. I've always like looked at the covers of the Final Fantasy games and been like, that looks like a cool thing.
Amato is amazing.
I was about to say, if we get more like Yoshitaka art out of this ordeal, then
I mean, we should.
Very
We got
happy guy.
Liliana. We got a Liliana out of him for a long time ago.
the $1 billion Liliana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he did more art for us, but I don't think he has.
That's the one that
Have
comes
they
to my
spoiled
mind.
it
but-
yet? Have they spoiled it
No.
yet? No, they haven't. A real shame. I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. I'm sure there'll be a secret lair or something. Not in the main set, a secret lair. The last set they talked about extensively, or at least as extensively as they talk about a set that's a year out, was Edge of Eternities. It takes place in the Edge, Magic's new science fantasy setting that sits outside of the multiverse, bordering the blind eternities. So this was very weird, because this is like a whole new Magic IP, if you will.
Sorry.
I'm gonna, as long as I can get that reaction out of you, Emma, I'm gonna keep saying it.
Fine.
The Magic Cinematic Universe.
I mean, we get a TV show.
It's true. They also did talk about that. We didn't talk about that at all. Yeah, they talked about the TV show at Vegas.
Did they again?
A little bit,
Another
yeah.
one?
They brought out the showrunner, and the guy was like, "Don't worry, we're working hard." And then
I think they said.
Cool, man.
I think they said like Jace, Chandra, and Ajani are in the show or something.
Yeah.
They mentioned the characters, but
don't
it's
worry.
very random.
Yeah, so
It's
funny.
very random.
Awesome.
So, all of the news we've gotten because some random actor was like, "I think they canceled that project," when he was just let go and he didn't know it, was
Oof, brutal.
Oof.
Him and everyone else, I guess, at the time. But the Edge of Eternities are kind of a new thing for Magic the Gathering because it's our first set I believe we've ever seen that is technically outside of the Blind Eternities, which is, of course, the place that the weird mythical place that the Planeswalkers used to get around, and all of the world tree stuff has punched holes through, which is why you're seeing every character in every world. I guess maybe, unless something drastic changes, maybe somehow the world tree also smashed itself into basically an adjacent universe called the Edge. But we'll see.
Yeah,
Tezzeret's
gonna be
big
there.
bad,
Yeah.
apparently.
Tezzeret as big bad at long last. I'll take it.
Edging
Rather
set
than
sounds
being a
cool.
lackey.
I'm waiting for the Gooning set.
I'm apprehensive of a space set just because we had Infinity and that was not good.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I get it.
the pinch of salt, but also you get to do the whole Commander and Conquer Tim Curry space thing for when the set comes out and talk about capitalism. So I'm on board for that.
Spaceball Secret Lair? Maybe.
That seems doable. Not gonna lie.
They did Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Why not?
Moving past that, they also mentioned Spider-Man 2025, pretty much like in passing again. They're like, hey, if you didn't see it, New York Comic Con, there will be a Spider-Man set coming next year. Cool. And then, of course, the final announcement they made during that panel, which got the biggest cheer of them all, was there is going to be a SpongeBob Secret Lair. That got some people real hype. Dan is enthusiastically thumbing up right now.
I did 2 thumbs down for the Temple Lands,
We're
but 2
on
thumbs
video.
up for
You don't need
SpongeBob.
to. You don't need to subscribe anymore.
Some people
Look,
might still be
this is-
listening, like cavemen.
That's true.
It's true. There's still an audio podcast. But this has been like the biggest divide I've ever seen in the Magic the Gathering community. It's
I
like,
saw several people say they were going to quit Magic and then make a statement later on about how they had quit Magic, and I was frankly
Yeah.
impressed.
to the people who like grew up with SpongeBob, this is the coolest thing ever because SpongeBob is a high quality, funny animated show. And to everyone else, it represents the downfall of society as we know it.
I do sincerely think that SpongeBob is like one of the crux shows of like low-brow high comedy.
Yeah.
I sincerely
Agreed.
think that SpongeBob is like quite high art, but I can understand also think that this is the end of your favorite game because it's real dumb that the guy with squeaky shoes is going to be on your favorite Magic card.
Also, it's like with the whole Universes Beyond being standard thing and that thing just like setting the stage for this panel. And it's like, we've got SpongeBob Secret Lair at the end of it. And it's like, that's just like the stone that just hit everything, right? So it's just like, great.
I can't wait to use Sarah Angel to crew the Krabby Patty Mobile.
I'm ready. I'm ready to.
I want to put SpongeBob
I'm ready,
and
I want
Patrick
those
to a
boots.
partner and be the next CDH pairing.
I hope so. I hope that there's
would
like
be
I
so
was talking
funny.
to Ken Bauman
Oh
about
my
this, that
gosh.
he is also in hopes that there's going to be a really good blue instant in the underwater set, which I'm also hopeful for, that will make it into Quark Sakashima CDH deck.
I really hope that Plankton is the next blue-black threat that destroys Legacy. That's
Hear me
why-
out. I think that they should do a reskin of Rograk, son of Roga, as Plankton.
Nice.
All right, that's enough product. That's enough product watching. Let's move on to the co-host's notebook. Welcome to the co-host notebook, the part of the show where we talk about whatever the co-hosts want to talk about, as long as it is not only about Magic the Gathering. Emma, you're joining us again this week, so why don't we get right into whatever you have written down in your co-host notebook?
Not much, because we're in the waiting room for Dragon Age of Veilguard, and that releases Friday, which would be tomorrow when everyone listens to this. So yeah, just twiddling my thumbs and getting as much work as I can done until then.
That's all? That's all you have written down?
Really busy because
Yeah.
Wizards keep announcing stuff and I have to work, so
I know. I really thought that, like, the
been a
sets
lot.
were, like, slowing down a little bit toward the end of this year, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe 2025 is going to be a little bit more of a normal cadence. No, 6 sets. And we haven't
Bam.
talked about whatever inevitable summer bonus set we're going to have. We haven't
We've got
talked
Innistrad
about...
Remastered in January
We
as well.
did talk about that. Oh my gosh. We entirely forgot to talk about Innistrad Remastered. In my defense, it was basically a toss-in in a panel.
Yeah.
That's... Innistrad Remaster is coming. I'm sure there will be some kind of experimental set in the summer that focuses on Commander or something like that. Or maybe they're going to do Battle Bond or Conspiracy or...
Vintage Masters and Paper, I'm calling it.
I haven't done a lot because I've just been working a ton with everything that's going on. But I'm off Friday. I'm taking Thursday afternoon off. And it's just going to be like, install Dragon Age, have a call with my husband because I know I'm not going to see him for a while because Dragon Age is happening, and then just play Dragon Age.
Perfect. Dan, what about you?
I will also just use this segment to do the same thing I did last week and plug my favorite podcast, the Level Up Podcast with Callahan Jones and Murph from the Command Zone.
I'm at Murph's house right now, so it's appropriate. That's
also true.
If you're
very
watching,
fitting.
this is a way different setting than last week.
Cal's
It's
not
because I'm
joining us
sitting at
from
Murph's
the
desk.
ethereal space.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a ton of your podcast, and I've been playing a lot of horror GameCube games because I've been getting back into the vintage video gaming. I last week picked up Resident Evil 4 for GameCube, an absolute banger. Been jamming that a ton, and it's been super funny. Love all the horrible Capcom dialogue. It's so terrible. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to get into it. It's terrible. I'm sure there must be a smash cut somewhere on YouTube of all the horrible, awful things that Leon says in Resident Evil 4, just like tough talking Spanish zombies, but very, very much worth looking into.
Sounds
and
incredible.
I also got in a copy of Luigi's Mansion, the original, and that has been exactly as much fun as I was hoping it would be. I was telling Emma while we were in between the recordings here that I was like, I keep throwing the dice on all these GameCube games because I don't really look them up to see how good they are or anything. And I was like, ooh, if Luigi's Mansion isn't as good as I remember, I will be very sad. But it is so charming and so fun. The music is amazing. Luigi's nose bounces up and down when he walks. I can't get enough of it.
I love Luigi's like my favorite character in Mario. So the fact that he got a standalone game, and those games are good. Like the other two are also great. It's just like I love Luigi so much.
Yeah. It's been mostly GameCube for me and listening to my favorite podcast.
Luigi's Mansion is the game that I like. There are 4, I think, like AAA Nintendo character titles that I still don't own, and Luigi's Mansion just remains one. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy Luigi's Mansion, and I'm like, that game is still $55.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll buy it next time. I'm gonna buy.
I had to make an
$12
offer on the
copy
player's
of
choice
Bratz.
copy.
What'd you say, Dan?
I had to settle for the player's choice copy.
Oh yes,
Sure.
Yeah. I am a player's choice enjoyer, so
I'm not
no problem
against
with that
them,
here.
but I do agree with Murph that I do not prefer them.
Very fair. So the
Although I
yellow
think
is
Murph
quite
is like
gaudy.
quite staunchly against them. So
Oh yes, Murph went out of his way and bought new copies of games and stuff to have a player's choice free spread on his shelf. Just all black Nintendo logos, none of that yellow crap.
Nice.
king shit.
All right, that is all we have for this episode. And this time, I really mean it. No interview this week. There's no interview last week. There's no interview this week either. MC Vegas has really thrown us for a loop. And by us, I mean me. But next week, there'll be another episode. We'll be back to all normal stuff. Don't worry. But by my easy estimation, this episode is going to be well over an hour all on its own. So
Yeah, I
I
was
hope
gonna
this
say,
is
just record for
more
an hour
than
and a
enough
half. This is
content
plenty.
for you. Yeah, exactly. Dan, Emma, do you have anything to leave our listeners with? Let's start with Dan.
Moderately NPG on all the platforms. YouTube, Twitch. Go check them out. Go and give money to your local library. They're a cool place. And if you're going to be at PAX Unplugged in December here in Philly, I will be there. So come and say what's up to me, and we can play a game of Magic if you feel so inclined. Or we can talk about Luigi's Mansion.
Or Skiddly Toilet.
Or Skibbity Toilet. I'll definitely talk to you about the latest episode of Skibbity
Yeah, Dan,
Toilet.
you've really dropped that bit. What's going on?
Yeah, man.
you okay?
What the hell?
I got a lot of death threats from the Skibbity Toilet community. They said you're not a real fan. You don't know what we're about.
You replaced all your Skibbity Toilet watching with the Level Up podcast.
Yeah, they said, how dare you call SpongeBob high art and not refer to Skibbity Toilet as high art. But I would also put it in that same platform of lowbrow high humor.
Emma, what you got for us?
How dare you cut me off?
Follow me on Blue Sky, because I'm on Blue Sky now. I'm migrating away from Twitter, so that's emmapartley.com. I think it's my Blue Sky. That's about it.
All right. Nothing else. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Follow the show on Blue Sky at heraldshorn.com. That's all we've got for this week, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Herald's Horn. Herald's Horn is hosted, edited, and produced by me, Cal Jones. The co-hosts are Emma Partlow, Lexi, better known as Black Girl Mage, and Dan, better known as Moderately Anonymous MTG. All of our info lives in the podcast description. If you want to reach out to me, whether with feedback, you want to give me money, or you just want to send a letter to the editor, hit up editorial@heraldshorn.com. Thanks again for listening to The Herald's Horn. We are having so much fun creating it. See you in 2 weeks.